Good afternoon. It's the 20th of September 2022. I'm in Baranovici, and this is a supermarket chain. I believe it's Dutch, Corona, and a lot of time they have these restaurants inside, and it's they're all called Amsterdam. I wonder if that's something to do with being Dutch. But anyway, right next to it, when I first came here to Belarus, this was December. That was 9 months ago. Matter of fact, 9 months to the day. They were like done with one floor of these apartment buildings, and now, at least on the outside, looks like they're finished. And I'll just walk around and show you what it looks like while I'm telling you about some of the latest news in the world, what's been happening while you were sleeping. So, and okay, well, here we go. Lately, Nancy Pelosi, she's been quite busy lately. You know, she didn't just only go to Taiwan and try to foul things up there, and now USA and China are closer to a war, but she also went to Armenia, and now there's something kicking off between Armenia and Azerbaijan. There's always been a little bit of tension there, but it's sort of strange because you have Armenia is backed by Israel, who is an ally of the United States, and the United States is backing Armenia. Wait, Azerbaijan is backed by Israel, which is backed by the US, and the US is backing Armenia, and Turkey backs Azerbaijan. Russia, for the most part, stays somewhat neutral, but the more powerful country, obviously, is Azerbaijan, because they've got a lot of modern weapons given to them sold to them by Israel. And Armenia has a border with Russia, so you can see why the United States would be very interested in Armenia. And Nancy was there crying crocodile tears because I think some sort of attack happened, you know, from Azerbaijan. I don't know so much about all that stuff. You know, it is what it is. You know, the bigger conflict, of course, is Russia and Ukraine, and it looks like the U.S. is trying to get Russia to have a two-front war. There's Georgia. Georgia is having a referendum whether they should go to war with Russia or not. Strange thing to go to have a referendum about when there's no attack or nothing anyway. But now they're trying to start Armenia to turn that against Russia. And I'll tell you more about news. But anyway, here's a part of this. It's a children's playground area here. You can see this in the background. All built, but I don't know if anybody has yet moved into these apartments. Let's see. It's just a lot of construction going on here. I'm sure in the USA they're telling you how miserable and terrible it is in Belarus. Maybe they would tell you, oh, the children are oppressed or something because they can't get their gender changed or something like that. Oh, nice floor. This looks like bricks, but it's all padded. If I can show it to you down here. Nice padding. But it's also astounding that they have all these buildings built up. This is 9 months, and they only had one building. It was like 2 floors. And now they have all of these. There's more coming. There's another building coming up over there. They're doing digging on the next side. So it's like probably a ready to move in apartment in 1 year. From building the building all the way to moving in. It's incredible. So, but what else is Nancy doing? Nancy Pelosi, they had a very secretive meeting in the basement. I don't know if it was in Congress or the White House, but a very, very secretive. And just some of the top Democrats were down there, and it's very rare that they have such a meeting. But at the same time, Russia's having meetings, and they're always mum. Russia doesn't really, broadcast what's going on anyway in Russia, anything about this war. But this territory that they recently lost with Ukraine is they're starting to get it back. Bakhmut is a very important city. I think it's 17,000 people, and there's a lot of small villages that surround it that makes it a much bigger population, and it's also in a tactical place, and Russia's going to have that back, or have it for the first time, I don't know, in the next few days. So, you know, and that's going to be a big loss for Ukraine. And they've already made some ground in other places as well, and Ukraine really, since this major offensive, and that they got some ground in the Kharkiv region, and Russia actually was withdrawing. There's a whole lot of information about that. If you look around, you can find out, you know, more about the truth if you can piece things together. And there's always big discrepancies about what is the truth and what isn't. So that's up to your own discretion if Russia ran out of there. But it seems to be a orderly withdrawal. Like they knew something was coming. They got all their equipment out mostly. And unfortunately, a lot of the civilians, as you know, what Ukraine does, anybody that cooperates with the Russians, it's very bad. So, and if I were a civilian, whoever's there, I would be cooperating with them. You know, because if you don't, you know, it's bad anyway. You have to cooperate to a certain extent. That's very bad, these war zones, and you have this terrible, terrible ideology in Ukraine, unfortunately, that doesn't have put that much value on human life. I don't even think that they value their own lives that much. They say that they're the master race, as their predecessors did during the, you know, in Germany in the 1930s. But these people, with that same ideology, say that they are superior to other peoples, and even when it comes to their own kind, they don't put very much value on their lives either. So, you know, that's something to worry about. And as the U.S. continues to try to get more allies to have a multi-front war for Russia, you know, they know they don't have any luck here in Belarus. Lukashenko is very good, so, you know, and he's actually for stability. He is anti-war, and he just doesn't like nuclear weapons either, but he realizes he might have to have nuclear weapons to protect the country. I can't say enough good about Lukashenko. There are some minor things, and a lot of people complain, and maybe they're valid reasons, and sometimes maybe there's some major things that they complain about Lukashenko, and maybe those are even true too. But you can't take your eyes off the big picture. He is a very, very good leader. And Belarus has virtually no resources. They have lakes, some fresh water. They have deposits for fertilizer, and anything else like farming, that's all done from human resources and manufacturing that virtually any country could do, because they have to import raw materials for manufacturing, and most every country has some soil of some sort. You know, maybe the terrain is bad, but Belarus has a very short growing season, so they do very well. So it's under great leadership here in Belarus. You know, I can't emphasize that enough. So, you know, and what you're also seeing nowadays is you have the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, and contrary to what the U.S. says, and Europe, at least the UK and the US, you know, that duo, the dynamic duo, UK and US, they say Russia is isolated. But it didn't look like that when they had the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. It's completely the opposite. So many people want to get on board with Russia and China for this economic partnership. Even a NATO member, which is, of course, NATO is a military alliance, which is Turkey. And Turkey realizes that the European Union, and not even the United States, after they tried to overthrow his government some years ago, are not Turkey's friends. And You know, there are ties with the West, but I think Turkey has realized who Turkey's friends are, and it's moving into a multipolar world, and the U.S. doesn't like this. The U.S. wants to dominate everybody. It's called something from the old days, full spectrum dominance, and I was in the military in those days, and yeah, out to dominate and control and rule the entire world. And actually it's maybe commercial interests and political interests in the United States that really want to do that, as well as some globalists, you know. Then you can figure out who that is. You know, a lot of people can talk about that, you know. That's up to your own beliefs there. But there's also another occurrence. Apparently the Rand Corporation, which is another think tank, just like what they used to have, the Project for a New American Century, if you know what that is. You should look that one up and look at the chapter Rebuilding America's Defenses, and you'll get a shock on that. It used to be online, but they took it down. The United States government took it down. But the Rand Corporation is another corporation to try to, it's a think tank trying to think up ways how the U.S. can control the world. You know, dominate, control, if they don't already have control, keep everybody in line. You know, anybody that begins to have any kind of economic prowess to keep them down. But anyway, this document, it was a 4-page document. The part that was released, there's probably a lot more of it, but what it was saying is that they have to use Germany as a tool to collapse Russia, and at the same time they will collapse Germany. So this is a strategy. You have to read. There's a book called Every Spy a Prince, and towards the end of the book, you'll see that that's what the intelligence agencies in Israel did. They got Christians and Muslims to fight each other because for a long time they were friends, and inherently the Christians and the Muslims are friends. It's hard for anybody in the United States to believe that, but that's not for me to discuss right here. You can find that out. What did Muhammad say? The greatest being that ever lived was Jesus. They're not going to tell you that in the United States, that Muhammad said that, and that the Muslims actually believe in Jesus as well, but just in a different way than the Christians do. But anyway, like I said, I'm not going to talk in depth about that subject, you know, partly because I don't know everything about it, you know. But anyway, let's but this Rand Corporation, some people are saying that this is that it's fake, and a lot of very credible people say it isn't fake. So this really did happen, and but as a result of all of these machinations from these evil people, Germany is in dire straits, and so is most of Europe because of the heating situation. Can you imagine a country that is big in production? They produce a lot of things, lots of cars, say something like Mercedes and Volkswagen and Porsche and Audi and who knows what all. And then there's another country that has a whole lot of energy, and they can offer it to that productive company very, very cheaply. And that productive company can gain a lot of power. It's like a marriage, a great marriage made in heaven. And you can imagine there's some people that really don't want to see that marriage because they don't want to see this competition. Guess what? So, but as the heating bills are going to be going up, especially in Germany, you're going to see the politicians virtue signaling. They're going to be wearing sweaters and saying, we have to do it. And it's not we, it's you have to do it. Do you think the politicians are going to be suffering? They're not going to be suffering at all. And they'll wear a sweater to the meeting, and then then they'll strip down to a t-shirt or no shirt at all in their apartments because it's going to be so hot because they're going to have the heat turned up so high. It's going to be unimaginable. Look at all these crows. Boy, I don't know if you can see that. And yeah. But just think of Ukraine. They're doing it for Ukraine. But what they don't tell you is Ukraine has enough gas and oil to last nearly 2 years. You don't ever hear about Ukraine having to suffer from gas and oil. And I wonder, how did Ukraine know in advance that they're going to be needing to save up all this gas and oil? You know, and Germany should have known that too, because they're a part of this. And now that Germany's trying to court any country on earth that they can get liquid natural gas from, Qatar, and they're getting some, I believe, through Azerbaijan, and another country, I can't even remember who. They'd already get some from Norway. But they have enough gas. It's just going to be at what price? At what price do you want to pay for that gas? And businesses are collapsing. The cost of heating is going up in multiples, and they don't make as much as what their heating bill is, so they have to close. And there's already some that have been closing, but they're not going to tell you that on the news. So, but the people in Ukraine, even the people in Russia, Belarus, the USA, all of us have to realize that there are forces working against us, and it's not those forces that you think there are. You know, you have bought and paid for compromised politicians, you know, and the big billionaires wanting to make more money, and Ukrainians are suffering, and if they are able to launch a war against Russia, the West, they're going to be suffering. And we're already fearing here in Belarus, to a certain extent, that we might be pulled into the war. Ukraine has planted landmines all over on the borders, and they have a lot of troops massed on the border as well. And the United States has been sending thousands and thousands of troops to Poland and other like Baltic states. You're not hearing that in the news either, but that's what's happening. So stay safe, and like they say, look for the truth, because you're not going to get it from the mainstream media. Till next time. And as usual, a lot of what I forgot to say is, if you like what I've been saying, then please press the like button and consider subscribing, and I'll get better. I'll get better on these on this information. I am still living out of a suitcase and not really moved into any kind of a permanent housing, so it'll be a little while. It'll be a few months, but you can expect something better in the future. So please subscribe. Thank you. Till next time.